This video is about the ethical theory of Immanuel Kant. So we have studied three basic branches of philosophical ethics, the first being virtue ethics, associated with Aristotle and with some more contemporary figures. Alistair MacIntyre passed away not too long ago. Stanley Hauerwas, a theologian who is still out there. And then number two, Immanuel Kant with deontology, the topic of this video. And then the third major branch that we'll be talking about next week is utilitarianism, connected to John Stuart Mill, who wrote a famous book by that title, and also Jeremy Bentham. So Immanuel Kant, he writes a book on the groundwork of the metaphysics of morals, which means the metaphysical foundation of ethics, of morality, which for Kant is not this or that particular culture or religion. It is universal human reason. So his ethics is to apply to all rational agents. They wouldn't really even have to be human. So I could just say universal intellect, reason, mind. So any rational being, humans and whichever other rational beings might be out there, would be under this universal moral system. And the basic idea is that the will must be pure in of itself. We don't look to self-interest, ulterior motives, personal advantage, not even to social consequences, but to the act itself and my willing of that act. This can be a bit abstract. Picture a person, picture the person doing something, and then that action has effects out in the world. Virtue ethics focuses on the person. Deontology, Immanuel Kant's perspective on the action performed by the person. And then utilitarianism looks out to the consequences of that action. So picture those three stages: an actor, an agent, an action, the consequences of that action. That lines up nicely with virtue ethics, deontology, utilitarianism. So I've been using this term, deontology. Sounds kind of fancy. It just means the study of duty or moral obligation. Deon is duty, D-U-T-Y, or obligation. And then logos is the study of. So deontology is the study, the rational analysis of moral obligation. Kant distinguishes hypothetical imperatives from his famous categorical imperative. Hypothetical means it's an imperative, a command, if you fall into a certain category. So if you want to become a dentist, you should go to dental school, right? If you want to become a lawyer, you should go to law school. But I don't want to become a dentist, so I don't have to go to dental school. I don't want to become a lawyer, so I'm not obligated to go to law school. In fact, it wouldn't really make sense, right? Law school is basically to train people to become lawyers. So if you have that goal, then you pursue that path. If you don't, you don't. That's hypothetical imperatives. If you want something, if you belong to a certain group, then you have an obligation that falls upon you, but it's conditional. A categorical imperative means categorically, across the board, for me, for you, for everybody, we are under this basic moral imperative. Again, an imperative means a command. Like when you're studying a language and you have declarative statements, interrogatives, those are questions, and then imperatives are like get up or go away. Those are kind of rude imperatives. It could be please have a seat, all right? That's a command. So categorical imperative means a command, an imperative that categorically applies. applies to everybody, no matter who you are. And there are different formulations of it. One is to treat others as ends and never as mere means. So an end is like something valuable in of itself. A means is a way to get there. If I treat someone just as a means, I'm using them to get something that I want, but I'm not valuing them as a human person who has dignity in and of themselves. So Kant's language might be hard for us to understand, means and end, but treating someone as an end means you treat them as if they are valuable in and of themselves, because they are, as human beings. Treating someone as a means refers to, I'm going to use this person to get something, right? The person is being used as a stepping stone to achieve something. And we see this in ordinary life. Kant's point is very relatable in that way. If someone is nice to you because they want you to give them the test answers, if someone is nice to you because you have something they need, they want you to pick them up from the airport or give you a ride to work, they are using you as a means. They're trying to get something they want from you. Now, that would be okay if it's not a mere means. So if I go get my hair cut, I'm treating the barber as a means. I want him to cut my hair. If I go to a cash register to check out, or people say these days to cash out, I don't know where that comes from, but I'm using the cashier to ring me up, to give me my change, my receipt. But what Kant is saying, we should not treat people as a mere means. So I treat the barber not just as a tool to get my hair cut, but a person. I ask him how he's doing. I give him maybe a bigger tip than I need to. I ask him about his family. Maybe I get to know him. I go to the same barber maybe for year after year. I say hello to the cashier. I'm respectful to the cashier. I maybe ask the cashier, hey, how's your day been? Now, those are kind of superficial examples, but you can see what I mean. If I'm using somebody just to get what I want from them, then I'm treating them as a mere means in Kant's language, or I'm using them in the language of today. But I could treat someone as a means and an end. If I do that, I'm okay. I'm in the clear. So I need somebody to help me out, but they also really are a friend of mine. I'm not just going to get the favor from them and then never talk to them again. I actually care about the person. That's treating someone not just as a means, but also as an end. That's one way Kant puts the categorical imperative. Another formulation is to treat what you will as if it could become a universal maxim. That means a rule for all people. This idea is a little abstract and it's commonly misunderstood. People think it means, well, I shouldn't lie because if I lie, well, how would I like it if everybody lied? Then I would end up being lied to. Society would break down. If everybody lied to everybody, no one could trust anyone, there'd be social chaos. This is in the ballpark of what Kant is saying, but his point is not really social consequences. Remember, consequences is more the turf of the utilitarians. What Kant is talking about is the consistency of my will. If I say I will to permit myself to lie, but I don't will for other people to lie, see, that's inconsistent. Social consequences are kind of in the background here. I could tack on, yeah, I don't want other people to lie because of all the harm that would cause. But it's not the harm out in the world that is Kant's focus. It's the will inside of me not being consistent. Because I'm saying I will yes to lying for me, but I will no to lying for everybody else. Or stealing. I say I can steal if I need to, but I don't want anybody else to steal. I'm willing it for me, but I'm not willing it for you, and that's logically inconsistent. Kant is saying your will, your moral faculty, must be aligned with reason. Your will must make sense. So you either say yes to lying, meaning I could lie and so could everybody else, or you say no to lying. You will yes in terms of stealing. I'm allowed to steal, so is everyone else. Or you will no. You can't say that you're permitted to do certain misdeeds, but no one else is. Even if you said most people could do it, but there are some people who I don't want to give that permission to, that's still inconsistent. It has to be a consistent willing, which is what Kant means by turning it into a universal maxim. So what you're allowing for yourself, you have to be willing to allow for everyone else. And if you're not, then you can't allow it for yourself either. So those are two formulations. There are four main ones. We don't have to necessarily memorize each. They all say essentially the same thing, and they're not stated in any particular order. But the overarching idea is that morality is about the purity of the will and the obedience of the will to reason. Not social convention, not culture, not religion, not even to the will of God, but the will within me must be logically consistent with itself, so to speak, and with universal reason. There is a standard of rationality that I should recognize as a rational being, and I am morally obligated to make my will make sense, to align my will with reason, and to do my moral duty to follow the categorical imperative. That is Kant's ethical system, his so-called deontological ethics.